Hello and welcome, Exiles. Today I want to talk about becoming nigh immortal as a Juggernaut. Specifically, if you're playing on Righteous Fire Juggernaut with Pox, I would highly recommend considering adding this into your character. And what is that? That's this new Armor Energy Shield mastery. 10% of your armor also applies the chaos damage. Why is this so big? Well, quite simply put, if you're a Juggernaut, for example, and this will work on other builds, I'll describe it later, but if you're a Juggernaut, the way armor calculation works is with this node, and you do something like Divine Flesh, you take half the damage to Elemental, half the damage to Chaos, and your armor is applying to a smaller number. So if I had a 10,000 damage hit, instead my armor only has to defend against 5k and 5k. And the way armor calculation works is the more armor you have is more effective against the hit you're defending against. So if you split the damage, you're defending at half the size of a hit, if that makes any sense. It's essentially giga boosting the power level of Juggernaut's armor node, as well as making it work against chaos damage, as well as boosting your max chaos res. The point I'm getting at is if you combine this node, Divine Flesh, and Juggernaut, you're going to have a really tanky character, but it gets a little bit better than that. I have a bit of a diagram to try to showcase you what I'm talking about. This is the generic armor diagram, and I just did generic numbers to try to showcase you based on the diagram, not get too complicated with it. If you're a Juggernaut and you have 62,500 armor, if you take an 8,000 damage elemental hit, which is a large elemental hit, most things you're going to get hit by in maps, even in red maps, are going to be smaller than 8,000 damage, which you're going to mitigate by much larger amounts. That's when you start to get into, basically, if it's not a really sizable hit, if it's not a juicy chunky hit, you're already going to be mitigating everything by 90%. So everything that goes into your elemental damage gets split into chaos and gets mitigated by 90% and gets mitigated by 90%. And if you have 80 max res plus 90% damage reduction, that's effectively hits getting reduced by 98%, which is basically making everything just a slight little like poke on your shoulder. It does nothing to you. But for this example, 8,000 elemental damage hit, assuming we don't get max res from Divine Flesh, which we do, by the way, so this number will be better. But if a Juggernaut had 75 res, no max on the tree, which you get max res pretty easy on the tree, especially with the new mastery, you would actually be mitigating most people would be getting hit with 2k, because 75 res takes the 8k down to 2k, but you would actually be taking only 1,000 damage with this setup. To put this in perspective, if you're a Juggernaut with this armor amount, and all you did was click this mastery and Divine Flesh, you're taking 25% less damage than you would normally. But it's going to get better and better the more you have invested into max res, and this doesn't even account for the max res you're getting from Divine Flesh. I'm just freaking stoked about this, so I figured I'd make a video because I know there's a lot of people that are going to start Pox's Righteous Fire Juggernaut. I heavily recommend this mastery plus Divine Flesh. All you need to do is cap your chaos res, and you are just going to get enormous amounts of additional tank on top of your character. Granted, this will require you to scale max chaos res and max fire res, so that way you are like the degen, you're also mitigating that way. But there is another thing that you could use as well in tandem with this, which would be the new amulet that makes chaos damage over time heal you. So in fact, if you were playing Righteous Fire, the only thing you would have to figure out how to do is how to make yourself constantly leeching. You could go for something like Petrified Blood with the new low life mastery would make the Petrified Blood more effective, and you could get low life damage potentially, but that's only if you get Pain Attunement, which you're not pathing to as a Juggernaut, so you're probably not getting that, but it's just fun to think about. The idea is you could put that amulet on, and half your RF degen could be regenning against the other half, and so that way you'd only have net sustain, but that's just like, that's probably ultra overkill for damage mitigation, and we don't know how rare that amulet is. I think that amulet is completely busted for something like self-poison, obviously, but even the implications of going Divine Flesh and nullifying all degens in the game that are elemental because half the damage is regenning you if you just have Overleech somewhere, it's just crazy to think about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and it gets you thinking about some crazy defenses for Crucible League. Take care, Exiles. Peace out.